Hey there everybody, and welcome back to another Guild Wars 2 video. I know it's been a little while, but we are back. I'm recording. So this is going to be done in a similar style to the engineer build that I did, where it's kind of a leveling guide and build for new people to the profession and new to the game, either one or both, because sometimes that's how it works out. At level 6, I recommend going with the staff because you'll need that for this build. Go ahead and start the build as early as possible. That way you can see if it's going to be the build for you or not. At level 8, you'll unlock the ability to grab a trident. I suggest go ahead and getting that no matter where you're starting, because you'll have some tasks that ask you to go do underwater combat, and you'll need it for that. Next, at level 9 is really where this guide is going to kind of kick in. I suggest go ahead and taking everything that it gives you when you get your gathering at level 9 and put it onto your character. Whether you're going to be into crafting or not, I still suggest go ahead and getting it. And as you're doing map exploration, running around, unlocking things, definitely pick up items as you go, like ore, different, the wood from the trees, different plants that you run across. You don't have to go like out of your way to get them, but if they're like in the middle of your path or just slightly off the path, go ahead and collect those, because you may not be doing gathering and crafting now, but at some point you may want to try it or may want to, and it keeps you from having to spend gold later on trying to get the materials to do it, because crafting can be quite expensive if you don't have the materials. So I suggest it regardless. If you know that you're not going to be into crafting, if you're not a crafting person, still gather them anyway. You can always sell them. So level 10, you unlock your personal story, and you'll unlock a new part of the personal story every 10 levels. I do have a bit of a strategy for this, but I'll get into that a little bit later when we talk about map completion. But I highly suggest doing the personal story. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a good way to learn experience and learn how your character handles combat. It's really great. I personally like it. At level 11, I suggest getting your Blood Fiend and then Bone Minions, because you won't actually be able to get the Bone Fiend yet, but still this gives you 3 minions to work with, so you'll kind of get the idea of where this build is going early by getting these 3 minions. Now this does heal you passively while it attacks, and then also you can blow it up for healing too, so it'll heal you, and if you really need to, you can destroy it. I don't recommend keeping these for long, because as you can see at level 13, so 2 levels later, I'm gonna suggest that you unlock your Bone Fiend and then your Signet of Vampirism. Don't use the Signet of Vampirism yet. Stick with your Blood Fiend. That way you can still have 2 minions. But I do recommend both of these, because this one does more damage, it can tank a lot longer, has more health, and it also does crippling. As to where your Bone Fiend, or your Bone Minions, don't do as much damage, and they get destroyed real easily, although early levels it won't matter. So then we now come to level 14, your map completion. So you'll unlock a HUD when you hit your M button to pull up your map that shows how much of everything you have unlocked on the map, how many vistas, points of interest, waypoints, all of that good stuff. And so you can see how far you've got to go until you've cleared the entire map. I suggest clearing the entire area before doing the personal story. Now when level 10 rolls around, go ahead and do the personal story to try to help you boost up to level 14 to be able to unlock this stuff, so you can see where everything is and how far you've got to go to unlock it. But then I suggest clearing the entire map, then completing the personal story that's in that area. And then when the personal story moves to like a new area, like the level, instead of going from like the level 1 to 15 area, go from the level 15 to 20 area, or 25. I'm not looking at it, I can't remember offhand. But when it goes to like the next level area, I'd suggest go clear out the area and then start on the personal story, because sometimes you'll have 2 or 3 instances in the same map before it moves to a new one. And what doing this does is it helps you be able to, get your waypoints to teleport back and forth when the story changes, and then it also helps you keep up with the level of the story, so you're not having to grind for like a week or so, or however long to try to keep up with a personal story if you're just trying to blow through it and then find something else to entertain you and level you up while you do it. It also helps keep you from being underleveled in the story, which it being unlocked every 10 levels, you're not really going to be underleveled for it like you used to before they implemented that system. But it does help you keep up with it and makes it easier, and you know, it makes it to where it's not so much of a grind, because once you complete the map, you kind of take a break to go through your story and play that out, so it keeps you really from getting tired out of completing the map. And then completing the map keeps you from getting tired out of just running through your personal story. So it's kind of a nice balance there. Alright, so now next level, at level 15, I suggest getting your Signet of the Locust and then your Shadow Fiend. Signet of the Locust helps you move around the map faster, and if you activate it, steals health from enemies. So it's good, gives you a little bit sustain, but also helps you travel faster. That way you're not, you know, getting aggravated with how long it takes to go through the map. That compared with if you can get a Warhorn, like a Scepter Warhorn, you can use your Locust Swarm to give you swiftness, so that paired with the Locust is really good for traveling around the map. But I suggest mostly using your staff, except for, you know, getting a Warhorn to travel faster. And then around level 19, we're going to jump a little bit. I would say you could go ahead and switch your Blood Fiend. Since you have these two minions, you can switch it to either a Well of Blood or a Vampirism Signet, because both of these will heal you for more than what your Blood Fiend does. But if it's still working out for you and you like it, I would, you know, go ahead and keep these three minions. That's just a suggestion to change your healing skill, because it may work out better for you if you find that you're dying a lot, or that your minions are dying a lot, because both of these things will also heal your minions. If you like the well, you'd have to place it around you and your minions to get everyone healed, or just place it on your minions if you're not taking damage. But the Signet of Vampirism will also you know, heal them as well, because it makes it to where when they attack the target, they'll heal. Okay, so jumping just a little bit from 19 to 21, you unlock your first specialization. I highly, highly, highly recommend Death Magic be your first specialization tree that you go through if you plan on going through this build path still. If you still like the minion build and where it's going, I highly suggest going with this, because it will increase your minions' damage and their tankiness, so their survivability. It's really good. You'll get Armored Shroud. I recommend getting Flesh of the Master. You'll get Soul Comprehension. I recommend Necrotic Corruption. And then you'll get Beyond the Veil, and then I recommend Unholy Sanctuary. You can go through, I'm going to link the build in the description. You guys can read up on what these do and what some of the other ones do, and see if you want to change it a little bit or whatever, but this is what I personally recommend. So I want you to put like all of your points, all of your hero points into this, because you won't need them until level 31, unless you decide that you want to unlock another utility skill or something to kind of like mix it up and try out some of the other minions, or maybe some of the signets, or whatever, whatever you feel like you want to do. But at level 31, you'll unlock your elite skill, and I very, very highly recommend the Flesh Golem if you're going with this build, because the Flesh Golem is super tanky, does a lot of damage, and he heals out of combat just like you do. So your Flesh Golem is really, really good for this kind of build. Now, I will suggest getting Plague at some point as well, because that is really the only one that works underwater. But it's not a huge concern, it's not a must-have, but this kind of is. So we're going to jump again quite a few levels, because not a whole lot happens in between these levels. I mean, you still get things and items and stuff, but not really a whole lot worth mentioning for the build and for this guide. So I suggest kind of, if you just filling out your points into blood magic and just going through exploring the world, maybe get into a little bit of crafting, so on and so forth. But at level 45, you get your next specialization tree, and you should be completely done with blood magic by the time, or excuse me, death magic by the time you get to to your second specialization tree. I recommend going blood magic second. You can really go soul reaping or blood magic, whichever one you want, but I do recommend blood magic separate if you're still following this build, because this will again increase your sustainability and your minion sustainability. You get Mark of Evasion. I recommend Blood Bond. You get Vampiric. I recommend Vampiric Presence. You get Last Rites, and I recommend Unholy Martyr. Around level 45 and between level 45 and 71, you should really know by then, definitely, if you like the build, if you want to stick with it, or if you want to change and do something else, which is perfectly fine. This is just kind of a recommended thing to get people started and kind of help them level a little bit in case they're having trouble or don't know what to do. But by level 71, you unlock your third specialization tree. Again, you should have blood magic completely done before you unlock soul reaping. I recommend soul reaping last. Again, these two you could really change up as to which one you want to do, or you could change the build entirely, you know, if you're not into it. But if you're still following it, I recommend going this. You'll get Gluttony. I recommend Soul Marks. You'll get Last Gasp, excuse me. I recommend Vital Persistence. You'll get Strength of Undying, and then I recommend Foot in the Grave. This kind of strengthens your Death Shroud, gives you a little bit more survivability, and definitely will help out if you start doing dungeons and things like that where you're going to be dying a lot, especially if you go through the harder difficulty modes. So some of you may be wondering why I'm not talking about gear a lot, like your armor. So that is kind of a thing that you just kind of pick up as you go. I do recommend anything with rabid stats. This is all exotic gear. I don't expect you to try to get ascended gear, but exotic gear is the easier to get, and it's still really helpful. Rabid stats really work into the synergy of the build where you're trying to go for toughness, precision, and condition damage. If you go through and read your specializations, they kind of feed off of each other. One will boost the other, so on and so forth. For your sigils for your weapons, I recommend critical chance and condition damage. For your runes, for your armor, I recommend Superior Rune of the Undead. And again, at the bottom there, it gives you 7% of your toughness is converted to condition damage, because with this build, a lot of the damage you're going to be doing is conditions, because your minions just aren't really going to be able to pump out enough damage for you to just not worry about it. So a lot of it is going to be conditions, and your conditions with this will feed off of like your crit and so on and so forth, and they boost your toughness. So it's generally a decent build. For your accessories, your jewel, I recommend Exquisite Charged Ambric Jewel, which again kind of works off the same thing, except it goes with power instead of toughness, because there is no toughness, precision, condition damage jewel that I've found. But this works just as well, because it does give you a little bit more power, which is not bad. It's not a bad thing. It just doesn't fit perfectly, which is okay. But yeah, here's the build. I'll link it in the description below. I hope this helps you guys out. Again, this is just kind of like a starter thing if you just want to try it out or you're not really sure what to do, just to kind of help you level up and see kind of what the Necromancer can do. One path of what they can do. I mean, there's completely other things, like you can do a short melee ranged well build or whatever. There's so many different things you can do. This is just one thing that I personally like. I still do it with my level 80 Necromancer. Just walking around completing like world events, things like that. And then if I level up a new Necromancer, I'll definitely use this to level up with, because it's what I like and I know it works. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know if you like it, if it helps you. You know, recommend other professions that you would like to see done. I'm definitely planning on doing the new one sometime, maybe this week, maybe next week, but I do plan on doing a whole lot more. I'm going to be putting out a lot more videos. So I will see you in the next one.
I know it's my ADHD, 'cause I can't stop moving my feet.